Fentress with the Oregonian.
Hello, Lee. Aaron.
Hey, Coach. How you doing?
Good.
First question: with all the moves that Neil O'Shea made, how much time have you spent already going through all the different lineups you could put out there? Has your head been spinning at all? Or are you just taking it slow, like Damien says he is, in terms of thinking of all the different possibilities?
Well, it is exciting about the possibilities. What's funny is that, we've got basically 9 guys coming back from last year's team, which is more than we had last year at this time, or last year going into the season. We had more new guys last year than we have this year. That being said, I am excited about getting Covington, Robert, and getting Derek Jones. I think they add some versatility to the lineup. Getting Hoodie back and bringing Mello back, they add some versatility, obviously. So having a healthy Nurk to start the season, Ennis has been part of the system, and he wasn't even part of the 9 guys. So even though there is some newness and freshness to it, there's also, I think, a level of continuity.
Okay, Jason Quick with The Athletic.
Coach, Dame and CJ have talked about kind of taking on the defensive challenges more this year. And I was wondering what role you played in that, and if you could talk to why that is important.
Well, as disappointing as one of the reasons last year was a disappointing season in general was because of our defense, and we never got on track defensively. We had an outstanding year offensively, both before the bubble and in the bubble. We're going to be a good offensive team again, but I think the challenge for us, obviously getting some active wing defenders is really going to help us defensively. I think our personnel is more geared towards the defensive end, but the challenge, it's obvious to everybody that our challenge is that we have to be better defensively. And I'm glad that Dame and CJ are taking responsibility in that and now carry over to the team.
AJ McCord, Coin.
Hey, Coach. So you talked a little bit on it, the continuity, but just how critical do you think that is? Chemistry has always been such a big part of this locker room. How critical is it, do you think, to have the familiarity with guys in this system, and Ennis and Rodney and Carmelo, in getting off to a fast start in a short season?
I think it will help. And again, like I said, last year there was more. I think we took for granted the lack of continuity going into last season. We're coming off the Western Conference Finals, and we lost a lot of key players from that team, even though our hopes were still high going into last season. So the continuity helps, and I don't think you can underestimate that, but we're not going to take it for granted.
Casey Holdall, trailblazers.com.
Hi, Terry. I'm wondering, could you explain a little bit what you and your staff are able to do with players right now, and what your understanding is about what you're able to do when training camp starts? And do you know what date that is that training camp starts?
From my understanding is right now, the only thing we can do with players is individual workouts, one player, one coach, one basket. And that will stay with that until December 5th. And December 5th, we can start practice. So that's my understanding as of now.
Dwight Janies, NBC Sports Northwest.
Hi, Terry. You've acquired obviously some pretty solid defenders, versatile guys. Can you talk about, does that give you more freedom to do other things defensively? Do you think you're more able to, say, mix things up or do other things that you haven't been able to do in the past with the acquisition of these guys?
I do. I think, I was having a conversation with some coaches, and, back in the day when I got in the league in the 90s, the best defensive teams were the ones that had a dominant defensive center, whether it was Akeem Olajuwon or Dikembe Mutombo or Patrick Ewing or Shaquille O'Neal, David Robinson. You just go down the list, and those were the teams that had the best defensive field goal percentage, and they impacted the game. I think the game has evolved where I think the better defensive teams are the ones that have versatility and some length on the perimeter, which is what we got with Derek and Robert, and then throw Rodney Hood into the mix coming off his injury. So, and then you look at the way Gary Trent was able to come on as a defender last season. So hopefully with our versatility and our length and some quickness on the perimeter, it'll take some of the pressure off of obviously our big guys, but it'll allow us to do more things defensively than maybe we've done in the past.
Joe Becker, K2.
Terry, good to see you. When
You
you
look
have
good too.
thank you very much. When you have a new season right at the beginning of the season in camp, when you have new players and you're trying to work them in, how much do you enjoy the challenge of trying to mold the team together?
You know, that's I think as a coach, there's a tendency to look at last year, previous years, and you have your system. And you know, I remember going to San Antonio after they had won a championship, and I think they had everybody back. But you know, Coach Pop talked about this is a new team, it's a new year, and I think that's part of the challenge as a coach is even though we've got a number of people back, we're approaching this as a new team, and it is exciting about seeing how the team is going to fit, how it's going to come together, what works, what doesn't work. I think that's always the challenge of going into the new season. You know, I think I may have mentioned this before, but Coach, I've been here a long time now, and when I look at Jerry Sloan and Greg Popovich and other coaches that have been with one team for a long time, balancing the newness and the freshness and trying to keep things a little different, but maintaining things that have been successful in the past. I think that's the balancing act right now.
Sean Hyken, Bleacher Report.
Terry, what kind of conversations have you had with Carmelo about his role coming into the new season? Is he going to start? Is he going to come off the bench? Has any of that been decided yet or figured out?
We had a conversation, obviously, before he signed here, and most likely he'll be coming off the bench. I think Robert and Derek will probably be the starters, and we'll go from there. Rodney's, you know, coming off the injury, so he might be on some restrictions going into the season. So I think coming into this that's kind of what we're looking at. And, you know, Melo is great. You know, whether he starts or doesn't start, whether, you know, there's a good chance he finishes games. You know, we've said this before, it's not who starts, it's who finishes. So I think Melo's in a good place and he understands his role on the team.
Jamie Hudson, NBC Sports Northwest.
Hey, Coach, this offseason, there was some chatter out there that Portland needed to bring in a backup point guard. Now, Neil and Dame have said that you guys have a backup point guard in Anthony Simons. So what do you have to say to that? And then also, should we expect some staggered minutes between Dame and CJ a little bit more this season, or what's your plan with all of that?
Who was providing that chatter?
It was on social media. There was a lot of national media members.
Look, we got a 14-man roster. Dame and CJ, I think, have excelled in the role. CJ's been very good as a backup point guard. I think he'll continue in that role. I think Anthony will obviously have opportunities to play some minutes if they're needed as a backup. But you can make an argument that if Anthony is out there with Dame, if he's out there with CJ, that CJ would be the point guard and Anthony would be the two guard. Anthony can obviously be a handler, but I think CJ and Dame have shown obviously a high proficiency in being a point guard, and Anthony Simons is there if we need him.
Jason Vondersmith, Portland Tribune.
Hi, Coach. Talk to Dame and CJ about, whether they talk about winning an NBA championship. I mean, they're at this point of their career. Nice, solid roster you guys have put together around them. How close is this team with, with Dame and CJ being the leaders essentially to being an NBA title team?
Well, I like our chances. Yeah, I like our team. I think we're going to be a very competitive team. We've shown in the past that we can be a competitive team, and I think this year is no exception. It's a lot, even though it's 72 games, it's still a long season. A lot can happen, but I think we're going to be as competitive as any team. And once you get to the playoffs, you just don't know. You look at Miami. Miami really probably wasn't predicted to make it to the NBA Finals, and they did. I think once you get into the playoffs and you look at your matchups and get in a series, anything can happen.
Casey Holdall, trailblazers.com.
I actually didn't have another question for you, Coach. I just didn't lower my hand for some reason. But I guess, well, hey, that's the way this is.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Nice haircut, Terry. How do you see kind of the growth of this team at this point, particularly in terms of the West? A lot of teams did kind of change over, but you mentioned bringing back quite a few guys. I imagine that stability will probably have some positive benefits going forward, especially in a Western Conference where there were a lot of changes.
Yeah, without question. And then you throw in Ennis, who isn't that far removed from being with us, and Rodney, who didn't get a chance to play much last year, but he's with us. We are adding some rotation players in Robert and Derek. That's going to be a little bit of a difference, but there is going to be continuity. And like I said, we just can't take it for granted. We have to get off to a good start. We're not going to have a lot of time to prepare. We are going to change some things up at the defensive end, so we have to be locked in on those changes. That there's with the amount of preparation that every team is going to have, or I should say the lack of time for preparation that every team is going to have, it's going to be the start is going to be very interesting. But I do think that you'll see a lot of teams evolve because of the lack of preparation at the beginning of the season.
Nick Krupke, Fox 12.
Hey, Terry, post-bubble, obviously, you being a sports fan yourself, you've seen professional and college kind of have success or some failures in dealing with the protocols of COVID and everything. So obviously it's the biggest challenge that you face as a coach. So how, I guess, positive are you that your club's going to be in the best position going forward, knowing that you don't know what's coming forward?
So I'll say this, with regard to the coronavirus and COVID and all that, I think the experience, 22 teams were down in the bubble. We have everybody on our team except our new rookie and Kelgin and Rodney Hood. Of our 15-man roster, 12 of them were in the bubble. So I think that was kind of a sobering experience in that how to approach COVID. And I think the responsibility that everybody had in the bubble will carry over to this season. And like you said, you look at some of the issues that COVID has caused, whether it's in baseball or football, all our guys are aware of it. And I do think the bubble experience and the experience that we're gaining from football and baseball, hopefully we'll learn from all those. So the best you can do is abide by the protocols, be responsible. And I think if we do those things, we'll have a successful season.
Okay, Jason Quick with The Athletic.
Which I think we can all see that you have a lot of talent and a lot of players who can play. In the past, how have you kind of handled players who are frustrated with playing time?
Be honest, I think understanding their roles, it's you're gonna have to pick your spots, but hopefully when you have success, playing time is less of an issue. And to be perfectly honest, we haven't really had much of an issue with playing time in my time here. I mean, maybe from game to game, but I really haven't had to deal with that frustration very much.
Aaron Fentress, the Oregonian.
Coach, what are your impressions of Harry Giles, a guy loaded with talent who hasn't really been healthy and/or gotten a lot of time yet? What do you think he can contribute to this team?
Well, you look at his history. He's extremely talented, high school, college player. Unfortunately, the injuries have impacted his career, but the talent is there. From little I've gotten to talk to him, he has an engaging personality. He's a good kid, very talented, and you know how injuries hit us last year. You just don't know where those opportunities are going to come. But the reason we got them is that we're very, other than Nurk and Ennis, we don't have a lot of size. And with Zach being, who knows when Zach's going to come back. So he's going to have an opportunity to help us. And like I said, the skill level is there, and that's hard to teach.
Sean Hyken, Bleacher Report.
I actually didn't even have my hand up again, but I guess.
Well, hey, I'm glad you finally came to the realization. I saw your new hairdo, so congratulations on
Thanks, Terry. I guess how are you personally feeling about being on the road? With COVID being where it is, and kind of the risk that you're taking on. Like, do you personally? I know obviously in the bubble it's kind of a different environment. Nobody's coming in or going out, but how do you feel about it, like from a personal standpoint, like for safety?
Honestly, I think if you take the precautions, if you wear your mask and do the hygiene that you're supposed to and keep distance and just do the thing. And obviously there's going to be testing every day. So we know where we are with the team. But I think the realization when we left the bubble to come back into the real world was how important all the precautions are. But as far as how do I feel, I feel comfortable because I take the precautions, and but I am wary about it. I'm not being flippant about it by any means.
Okay, Joe Becker, K2. Okay. Let's go Jason Quick, The Athletic.
Coach, will you handle this preseason any differently? It seems like things are more accelerated.
Yeah, I think probably one of the bigger concerns is getting the guys in game shape and the process that it takes for that to happen. I think all our guys are in good shape, physically, weight-wise, but are they in NBA game shape? And so the ramp up to December, whenever our first game is probably the most concerning. So how many minutes guys play, it's just a different preseason schedule. So I think we'll be very cautious with overplaying guys in those games, because I think those games are all going to be part of the 2-week process, 2.5 week process of building up to game one. Sometimes it's a little different in a normal situation, but those games will be part of that process, part of that ramp up.
And then also, Coach, are you still there?
Yes.
Do you have the same staff, and will they have the same responsibilities?
Yes to both questions.
Okay, last question here. Dwight James.
Gary, the schedule, from what we've seen of it, and we obviously haven't seen the real schedule, but from what we've seen, it looks like you're going to be going into a city and playing a team twice in a row, theoretically anyway. How is that going to change things? I mean, we have never really seen a schedule where you play everybody back to back all the time. How will that change your preparation and maybe even change end result of games?
And I'm not dodging the question, but I haven't seen the schedule. I haven't seen a draft. I don't know how they're doing it. So I think it's probably premature for me to even comment on something. I have no idea what it's going to look like. If you want to ask that question again once the schedule comes out, I'd be glad to answer. But I have no idea right now.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks everybody.